Hi guys, good evening. Welcome everybody to WordUp Bookstore. I can't believe this turnout. I'm really impressed. Thank you so much. So, yay, thank you so much. So, my name is William Jiang, Master of Library Science, and I'm presenting tonight in Washington Heights at the WordUp Bookstore. Very pleased that they invited me here, and they're hosting this little book talk. So, as you people may or may not know, I'm mostly a mental health author. I've written a few books, notably the few books I brought here tonight are Guide to Natural Intelligence Enhancement, The Medical Librarian's Annotated Guide, Natural Weight Loss and Diabetes Control, The Medical Librarian's Annotated Guide. That one only because medication oftentimes does mess with the metabolism and put weight on. A Schizophrenic Will, A Story of Madness, A Story of Hope. My autobiography, Guide to Natural Mental Health. And that's also anxiety, bipolar, depression, schizophrenia, nutrition and complementary therapies, as well as digital addiction. And then I also have the two Spanish books, La Guía de Bibliotecario Médico, Ansiedad, Depresión Bipolar y Schizophrenia, Nutrición y Terapias Complementarias, as well as my autobiography in Spanish, #1 in Spain, oh yeah, Entre la Esquizofrenia y mi Voluntad, una historia de locura y esperanza. So thank you everybody for coming today. I just wanted to give you guys a little overview of all the books. All right, so I'm going to start with my own personal story briefly, and kind of tie that into like the web of like knowledge that I've gleaned over the years, plus psychiatry, psychology, things of that nature. Just really briefly. So my autobiography is called The Schizophrenic Will. I developed schizophrenia actually about 24 years ago. Labor Day. My mom was there. Thank you for coming, Mom. For the support. Love you. So, yeah, 24 years ago was a very hard time in my young life. I was 19 years old. Although I was only 19, I was already a senior at the very competitive Stony Brook University campus over at, it was a SUNY school. It's one of the gems of SUNY. I was computer science, applied math, and English literature, of all things. And yeah, I was taking huge credit loads, up to the equivalent of about 36 credits per semester, which is a huge amount, I feel. And so I had my first psychotic break at the age of 19, Labor Day, 1993, I believe, 1992. So, in part, I wasn't sleeping well those days. And one of the things I really like to stress for people of all ages, is that restful, healthy sleep is so important. When your sleep becomes disrupted, you have all kinds of things that can happen, from depression, anxiety, in my case, schizophrenia possibly, right? It does run in the family, but not everybody gets it, who has it in the family, So even if it's in your genes, it takes nature and nurture. Why? Somebody with schizophrenia who has an identical twin, right? The other twin who has identical genetic code has only a 50% chance of developing the disorder. Therefore, the epigenome, or the way that the genes are expressed, is at least 50% involved in the expression of even a multifactorial, multi-gene disorder like schizophrenia. Same thing holds true for things like depression, all that, right? So, and that's kind of where I'm going with this. Society, as of April 2016, was the first time ever in the recorded history of America that people spent more money eating out at restaurants than eating in their homes. Does anybody have any idea what else happened in April 2016? Any idea? Guesses. One guess. Mom. You're on the spot. No. All right. So what else happened on April 2016 was that the rate of suicide climbed to I think it was like a 30-year high, right? So same exact month. I'm not saying there's causation, but there's definitely correlation between the young millennials eating out at McDonald's and their mental health. That's all I'm saying. That's for sure. So It's the economy. I mean, I'm not saying it's, you know, one thing. It's multifactorial for sure, but yeah, I mean, the things you put into your body are so important for your mental health. Like pretty much everybody knows that studied natural, things that help mental health. That omega-3 fish oils, fish, you know, it's a brain food. You know, Grandma knew that. You know, they've known it all the way back, and we've forgotten these things. So let me read a little bit of an introduction to Guide to Natural Mental Health that is going to basically illustrate what I'm saying, okay? It's on page 12 of Guide to Natural Mental Health. I wrote this when I was at New York State Psychiatric Institution, Columbia, as a chief librarian. It was a big hit at the Institute with the patients and staff. So I titled this little article for the newsletter, Grandma Was Right, okay? So this is like the archetypal grandma with the knowledge of the ages and all that, right? So today, everything's about Facebook, Twitter, and the PlayStation 3. Yet, the incidence of autism is rising. The incidence of depression is rising. The incidence of diabetes is rising. And the incidence of many other illnesses are rising. I'm not saying that Grandma knew everything, but she knew what she was talking about. Grandma said, go out and play. She was so right. By going out and playing, you got 1, exercise, and 2, sunshine. Both exercise and sunshine have been shown efficacious for treating depression once a person has it. Might it not also be a preventative? Kids these days are eating too many unhealthy foods and playing their Xbox too long. So not only do they not get exercise or sun, they compound the problems with unhealthy foods, which can cause even more problems. Childhood obesity rates are going through the roof. Johnny, get off that Xbox and go play some basketball, kid. Grandma said, people who live near the equator are happier. She was so right. It turns out that people in Scandinavian countries, as well as other countries that don't get enough light, suffer from seasonal affective disorder, which is a type of depression. However, there are many people in countries that do have enough light that also suffer from a type of seasonal affective disorder. Because they're in their offices and homes so much, they don't get enough light, so the outcome is the same. There's an entire field that studies the effects of light on people's moods, and it's called chronotherapeutics. It's a young field, but it's been shown that light has powerful antidepressant properties, and in some cases is more efficacious, faster working, with a much better side effect profile than standard antidepressant drugs. Grandma said, eat your fish, it's brain food. Boy, was she right. It turns out that the omega-3 in fish is not only good for the heart, but also for the nervous system and brain. Also diabetes, it can prevent that to an extent because of anti-inflammatory issues. Omega-3s in fish oil have been shown to be good for mood disorders such as depression and bipolar disorder. However, less than a year ago, the fish oils were shown to be efficacious in stopping schizophrenia in its tracks for people who are at high risk of developing it. Finally, fish oil also seems to have anti-inflammatory properties which can fight against the development of diabetes. Grandma said, go to sleep, it's late. Grandma was right to encourage a healthy sleep schedule. It has been shown that children who go to sleep later than 10 o'clock at night are prone to more psychological problems than children who go to sleep earlier. Right? Also, in our stressful society, it has been shown that people that get less sleep function worse on the job. Well, that's common sense. But when there is a sleep deficit for many years, it can cause lasting physical as well as psychological and physiological problems. Grandma said, eat your veggies. People do not get enough roughage these days. So there are many people who have gastrointestinal problems that might have been prevented otherwise. Not only do the vitamins and minerals in the vegetables promote good health, the roughage is extremely important for people with bowel disorders. Eating enough fruits and vegetables decreases unhealthy appetite so that people can lose unhealthy weight if they're overweight. I should have included this part that I'm going to mention right now. but it has been shown there's more serotonin receptors in the gut than there are in the brain. Therefore, you take care of your gut, you're taking care of your brain. You're taking care of your mental health as well as your physical health. You're taking care of your, and they're all tied together. If you're overweight, you will more likely have psychological as well as your IQ might drop even, things of that nature, right? So they're all tied together. So I'm just going to bring a little bit from this other book that might seem unrelated, but it's very related. It's called Natural Weight Loss and Diabetes Control, the Medical Librarian's Annotated Guide. So this is one of my favorite books ever that I've written. I have 30-something books, so that's awesome. So the first thing I talk about in the introduction is the World Wide Web, right? So everybody knows that the incidence of diabetes and depression is rising, right? Everybody knows that's common knowledge. But does anybody here know why? I think I figured it out. I'd love to share. Any guesses? Shout them out if you want. No? All right. So like I said, the World Wide Web. When Tim Berners-Lee came out from CERN with the World Wide Web, the HTML hypertext markup language, in 1994, we were already having a lot of cases of diabetes, and depression was on the rise. But the thing is, after 1994, let me show you guys this slide. You'll see what I'm talking about the incidence of diabetes. Home first. You see where diabetes starts going exponentially up? What year is that? Speak up. So you see this? This is the diabetes. This year is 1994. You see where it starts going up? 1994. So basically, I posit that one of the big reasons for this huge spike in unhealthiness is we're sitting too much on computers, right? We're sitting too much on computers. So, and that increases our waistlines as well as our incidence of depression around the world. We're all at our computers, and we're all more productive, but at the same time we're all more unhealthy and less happy in some ways, So that's one thing I wanted to bring up from the book, as well as some people just because diet, I'm sure it's important, but how important could it possibly be for my mental health, right? I'm strong, right? I'm a strong guy. So, I can eat as many Big Macs as I want and wash them down with Diet Cokes, right? Wrong. So, where am I? So, corn syrup is another thing, right? So basically, before the World Wide Web, we had another big increase. It was corn syrup. It actually increased it's in everything. So you can't avoid sugar in your diet now, right? And depression also increased when the corn syrup got into the diet. Not as much as when the web got in. Paradoxically, these computers are worse for us than corn syrup, which is crazy. But the first thing that got into our diet that actually shows how important diet is to mental health is the bleached white flour back in the 1875 when it was first invented, right? So in 1875, there was a new roller flour mill that made it possible to make cheap, non-nutritive white flour in bulk. So it was, they found out in about 1916, it was published in the New York Times, that the Italian disease, as it was called, pellagra, right, was caused actually by a deficiency, I believe, in folate. Let me double check. Let me double check. Give me a second. It doesn't say folate. Yeah, they didn't know what it was called back then. But it's a deficiency, I believe, in folate. And normal bread has this nutrient, right? When they took it out, a lot of people were going insane. They were being warehoused in asylums against their will, obviously, right? because they were psychotic, they were very ill, right? So there were many, many hypotheses about why these people were going insane, right? And one of them was like, there were flies or a lot of crazy ideas. Finally, one psychiatrist just started feeding them healthy, nutritive food. And people got better miraculously. Many people died from this disease, and unnecessarily. So they started, that's the main reason they started fortifying the white flour. So, people who like white bread don't go insane, if that's all, you know what I'm saying? So that's one other thing. My Guide to Natural Mental Health is quite a helpful book for, the 5 main topics that it covers. Digital addiction, which is a term that I've coined myself, which encompasses many things. Smartphone addiction, texting addiction, porn, gambling addiction, many things, right? So gaming, all these things, right? So the digital addiction part of the book by itself is kind of landmark, I feel. Then the part about anxiety is pretty strong. The part about bipolar is quite amazing. It has some very commonsensical when you read it. It's like, oh, why didn't I think of that kind of moments, right? But at the same time, it had science that was strong enough that it was actually pretty much groundbreaking. And it's supported by hard medical science, everything. So bipolar, good. Depression is the strongest part of the book. It goes everything from light therapy to like the importance of taking a multivitamin to omega-3s to much more. It's a really strong section of the book. The other strong section of the book is about psychosis, schizophrenia. So, and it turns out that I was the first person. I'll take credit for this finally in public. But I was the first person at Columbia Psychiatry to find out from the Eastern European journals that fish oil omega-3 actually could prevent psychosis from ever blossoming, or not blossoming, that's the wrong word, becoming fully blown psychosis. This is years ago. So last year, Dr. Jeffrey Lieberman, I believe not 2015, near the end of the year, might have been 2014, he came out and he didn't get any money for this, but the president of the American Psychiatric Association said what I've been saying in my books for years, that omega-3 fish oil can prevent schizophrenia from ever becoming a reality in people who might be prone. Even people who are developing symptoms, like the prodrome. And that was huge. Like he's the president of the American Psychiatric Association. He should be pushing drugs, in theory, politically, right? But yeah, he's a very brave and good man. I'll just say that. And I'm very happy to be in contact with him once in a while on Twitter, watching his swath of good, as I like to call it. And yeah, so that's really that book, A Schizophrenic Will. It might be made into a movie, hopefully. It's a fun read. I enjoyed my life. And so the Guide to Natural Intelligence Enhancement, I wrote that because about 6% of college-age students use like Ritalin, Adderall, not in all universities, but in many. And it causes a lot of them to go to the emergency room or worse. And I had a problem with that. So I'm like, let me write a book, because that's what I do, right? I write books, right? And about mental health. And this one is about intelligence enhancement, right? So what can somebody do to drastically increase their intelligence, memory, and executive function, meaning their overall global intelligence? I go over that in that little book. So I just wanted to say thank you so much for everybody for coming. And I'd love to open up the floor to questions if there are any. And yeah, from anybody. Okay? Yeah, hi.
Hi. Of course, it's best to get your nutrients in your food, but if that's not possible, what do you, what is your experience, and what do you recommend in terms of supplements. I mean, there's a huge problem
Right.
if they're not regulated, or there's contamination, or also if one uses certain spices or herbs, there's also huge problems with contamination. So how do you get around those issues?
So if you can't get so you're asking, like, if you can't get your healthy, like brain healthy nutrients from your food
Right,
and your things like that, where do you get them from?
right.
Okay, so I'll give you that, guys, really the short course that I wish everybody in America knew. Okay, real quick, and it'd be very, painless. So I wish there were an FDA minimum daily requirement for omega-3 fish oil. Okay, why? It's good for so many things that ail people: their nervous systems, their circulatory systems, their endocrinological systems, like diabetes, stuff like that, and all these things. Fish oil is the very first thing, right? I would say for people to take, right? A good fish oil, right? And it doesn't have to be like Lovaza, like prescription. Really, just something that's been centrifuged, so the mercury's out,
But
something-
omega-3 you can probably get enough from your diet. But
Really,
I think
like
there's-
what?
I don't know, you just keep eating a lot of salmon and
A lot of salmon.
a lot of salmon.
I don't know. Salmon has a lot of mercury in
I
it.
take omega-3.
Do you?
Yeah.
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 I take one multivitamin, but
The multivitamin is the other one. That was the second one on the list.
yeah.
Because the thing is, like, a lot of problems can be averted with a good multivitamin. Because if your diet doesn't include, right, these nutrients, obviously the easiest way to get them is the multi, right?
Yeah. Well, for me,
Great choice.
I'm a vegetarian, and then I had
Right.
some like neurological problems, and I was tested,
Okay.
and I had B12 deficiency.
Right.
So I have to be like more careful about
Sure.
what I eat.
Sure.
But it's I eat nothing but healthy food, but
Right.
to get it all the
But yeah, like if you're vegetarian, I would still include omega-3 fish oil, because actually the flaxseed oil and things like that
Yeah.
are not as efficacious as the omega-3 fish oil. I hate to
flaxseed
say.
has contamination problems. It's
Well,
not
everything
easy to-
does, but I mean, like
Yeah.
at least the fish. I mean, everything can, right? Potentially, right? But I mean, we live in like an imperfect world.
But flaxseed is more prone to contamination than like chia seeds. Or,
Yeah, I did not know that. Say that again, real quick.
I think flaxseed is more vulnerable to contamination.
Like chia seeds or something.
Yeah,
Okay,
like
I did not
chia,
know that.
yeah,
That's
right.
interesting.
Yeah.
Good, thanks. Any other comments, questions, guys? Anybody?
I want to have this book.
Mhm.
Can I buy this or?
You would like that book?
Yeah.
That's really my only. Any questions about like the presentation, guys, or we're good first?
Well, you can share with us more of your personal experience if you want. What's worked for you, what hasn't worked.
Right. Well, I mean, the summary of what's worked for me, like nutraceuticals and all that, it's in Guided Natural Mental Health. It's like a synopsis, right?
Oh, okay.
So that's good for that. For the intelligence, I would say the other one. And my life story can help a lot of people if they have schizophrenia or not. Why? Who doesn't like an inspiring, story where like the hero comes out better at the end than in the beginning, right? And in some ways, some people kind of see me as a hero, which is an honor. I don't know if I deserve it, but I'm happy to give. If I give one person like any kind of hope or like a positive feeling or whatever, I'm very happy about that.
So how
So-
about for you personally?
Yeah.
It's hard to break it down, but
Like what?
how much would you attribute to, in terms of maintaining a certain level of wellness? How much
Right.
do you attribute to nutrition, to exercise, having a good
Right.
shrink, to taking the right meds?
They're all important.
Having
I have to say
friends,
that. I mean, it's
you know?
hard. It's really, you have to have the right medicine if you have schizophrenia. You have to try to take care of yourself nutritionally. You have to exercise if you can. It's all important. I can't say one is more important. Probably the most important thing for a person with schizophrenia is the right medicine at the right dose. And the right treatment.
And I agree, the sleep thing is really
Sleep's
critical.
very-
And,
yeah.
and sleep is often an issue for people with all kinds of
Mood
mental
disorders
illness.
or whatever. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Okay. So we're good, guys? Yeah.
Yeah,
Good.
it's terrific.
All right, great, thanks. Any
Thank
questions
you
over here,
very much.
Madre? No? Mom's all quiet. Thank you for coming, everybody.
Yes, thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you for listening.